guys, it's Kelsey again.
Hey guys, it's Harrison again.
So the other day we were walking through our local craft store, which I do pretty frequently if you hadn't guessed already, and I came across this pretty amazing looking product and I've been dying to try it ever since. So the product is called, it's a Lumi brand, and it's called Inkodye, and what it is a sun activated or UV ray activated dye. So you can dye your fabric, and as soon as you put it in the sun, it activates the dye, which is pretty spectacular. Now they advertise doing it with photo negatives, so you can actually print photos onto clothing, and it looks really cool. I put the website in the description below so that you guys can check out the website. They have some great ideas for other projects you can do as well. So we wanted to start simple. Instead of doing photo negatives, we decided to do what's called silhouette dyeing, where you put objects on top of the fabric, and then what's left will be exposed to the sun and turn the color that you put on, and what has an object on top of it will not turn, so it'll actually stay white or the color of the fabric. Doing the silhouette dyes reminded me a lot of when I was a kid, and I would play around with making what's called photograms, where you take a piece of photo paper, put some objects on top of it in a dark room, and then expose it to light, develop it, and then you have this cool shadow print called a photogram. So it's basically the same concept but with fabric dye. So check out our experience with using Lumi's Inkodye to make some fun silhouette prints on fabric.
Inkodye.
The supplies you will need when working with Inkodye or any similar sun dyeing product are fabric. Light colors and natural fibers work the best. We used white cotton for this project. Silhouette making supplies. Use whatever you want as a silhouette on your fabric. You could also use photo negatives printed on special paper. You'll also need your Inkodye. The ones we used came in packets, but you can also buy dye in a bottle that you paint on or roll onto the fabric. We found that we needed a foam brush and some paper towels to even out the dye in some places. First, prepare your silhouette materials. For Harrison's fabric, I cut up some clear sheet protectors for Harrison to draw designs on with markers. The intention was to have lines as a silhouette on this fabric, but the end results weren't what I was hoping for. If we tried this again, I would probably use paint markers or acrylic paint instead on the sheet protectors. We spread fabric dye all over the fabric. I wanted to go for a blended look and ended up using 3 packets on Harrison's fabric, each a different color. I tried to make sure all areas of the fabric were covered and the overlapping colors were blended. This proved a little trickier than I had anticipated. Next, we laid out Harrison's sheet protector line art on the fabric. Then we let him pick and choose objects to put on the fabric to make a silhouette. His favorite was the chain. We tried to encourage him to put objects all over the fabric for the best results. You can experiment and have fun with using other supplies. I would love to try out doing leaves, feathers, and anything else I can come up with in the future. For my fabric, I wanted to use a stencil, so I printed a Harry Potter Deathly Hallows symbol onto cardstock and then cut it out with an X-Acto knife. You can play around with different thicknesses of paper to get different results, as some papers will let in more light than others. Cardstock worked well for a nice, crisp white stencil silhouette. The reason I put my stencil not really in the center of the fabric is because I'm actually going to be making a product, and I knew exactly what I'm going to be making before I went in to put the stencil on, so that's why I chose that placement. In a later video, you'll probably see why and what I was making, so stay tuned for that. To keep the stencil in place while outside in the sun, I laid a piece of clear glass over the top of the fabric to keep it in place. For both projects, it was amazing to see how quickly the fabric turned dark with the dye. We left the fabric exposed to the sun for about 12 minutes, per packet instructions. After removing the objects from the fabric, cool silhouettes, the flat objects definitely worked better than the more three-dimensional objects when it came to making silhouettes. It was time to put the fabric directly into the washer. We used a special detergent made for removing unexposed dye from fabric, and put them through 2 cycles on hot wash cold rinse. After 2 cycles, they're ready to wash and dry normally.
There you have it. That was our experience using Lumi's Inkodye. Harrison's didn't turn out quite as silhouette-ish as I would have hoped. The objects he put on, since they were 3D, they actually didn't really leave nice white spots like I thought they would. However, it still looks pretty cool. So I have some ideas in mind of what I want to do with this piece of fabric, because right now it's still just a raw piece of fabric. You should probably keep watching future videos, because I will most likely have some end results of what I actually do with this fabric here coming up in the next few weeks. Harrison, what was your favorite part about doing the fabric dye?
Putting stuff on it.
What's your favorite part on this piece of fabric?
I love it doing
What do you think we should do with your fabric, Harrison?
Hang it on a wall.
Oh, we should make a wall hanging. Interesting idea. So you'll see that mine is actually halfway through my next project that I'm doing with it. So there might be some giveaways here, but not too much. My stencil method turned out really, really good. In the future, I would also like to try the photo negative technique as well and just see how that goes. I know what I'm doing with this one, so hopefully in the next few weeks you'll see what happens with this piece of fabric as well. And finally, this is not in the video that you just saw, but just a few days ago I decided to do some more with doing a dip dyeing method by diluting some of the dye from a bottle. My mom actually also tried this technique, but did kind of a tie-dye effect where she crinkled up the fabric, put it in the sun, and then when she uncrinkled it, there were some cool patterns on there as well. I did a wall hanging set for Harrison's room. I took some canvas and I stretched the fabric that I dyed and put a stencil on over the canvas. If anyone can guess what this series is all about and why they're connected, leave it down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys think. The red didn't turn out as red as I would have thought it would. I wanted a really bright red, but I must have diluted it just a little too much. So the cool thing about the Inkodye is that you can get some really cool different results just by playing around and experimenting. Well, I hope you enjoyed our experience using Lumi's Inkodye. Inkodye! Tweet me any of your pictures if you happen to do any fabric dyeing of your own. I'd love to see those. Keep watching because next week's video we have a really cool DIY tutorial coming your way. I am really excited about this one. If you haven't seen any of my previous videos, I highly suggest you check those out as well.
Like, subscribe. Leave comments. I will be forever. Pretty please, pretty please.
In case you missed it, on Monday I released a new series of videos, kind of bonus videos of things that I'm working on, not with Harrison, but just for myself, because every geeky mom or any mom needs a little bit of sanity. I will see you guys next time for another episode of Level Up the Geek. Boop.